All right, welcome to Meta Mentality. This is our new esports show where we're going to be talking about the latest news in esports and what it means to us as fans. Uh, the latest news in Vancouver Titans, they have released Jjanu with more trouble said to be on the horizon as the team is set to release more news in the days to come. What does this mean for the Vancouver Titans? Are they in trouble, or are these the shakeups they need to make them a stronger team in the long run? Let's throw it to Spencer. Spencer, what do you think about what this means for the Titans?
So obviously like just first off, right off the bat, this is obviously concerning from like multiple different perspectives. We've at least known for a while that there's been a lot of tension between the players and the management. Um, I do think that there's a potential for this to actually end up being somewhat positive, especially if some of the players that we know John has been let go, but there's very specific players such as like Fissure, Twilight, Slime, and Huxall who, if they were let go and not traded, this is going to be a lot more of an issue for that team. However, if they ended up being traded, I actually think that there's a lot of good players you can get for them. Um, I assume because Vancouver wants to play in North America, if you were to trade players such as Hawksall and Slime and Twilight, you'd have to get North American players in return. And there's a lot of interesting teams out there with some actual pretty good pieces. I look at like Philadelphia, for instance, who I don't think they would really want to trade players like Poco or EQO or Funny Astro. But obviously, if you're getting in return a player like Slime or Twilight or Hawksall, you might be willing to, reconsider that notion. You look at the Atlanta Academy with the multitude of DPS players that they have available to them with Edison, Erster, Sharp, Baby Babe, someone specifically, right? If you're looking for that North American talent to build, on top of the fact that the tier two scene, as we know, has a lot of currently available to the Vancouver Titans. So I think I have to preface this mostly around the fact that we need to figure out whether or not the players let go or traded, or there's one more option really available, and that is that you let go of some players, like maybe Seaman Sue, Stitch, Jjanu, but you keep a core of like Huxall, Fissure, Slime, and Twilight, and then you just try to find other players to build around those four. In which case, again, it's nothing against Jjanu, but I do think he's one of the weaker parts of the Vancouver Titans, especially in the hero pool meta, given the fact that his hero flexibility on the off tank is maybe not at the level of some other off tanks in the league. So while I do think it's concerning, I do think there's potential goodness to come from this.
That's a very valid point. I mean, if depending on whether they want to keep that core together or what they want to do in terms of what these releases even really mean.
Yeah.
Also, a lesser point in that news that was released was head coach Pagion also leaving the team.
Yeah.
Do you feel that's going to be a problem for them, or is that ultimately a net benefit?
It comes down to, I mean, I've heard over and over again the tension between the players, sort of within themselves, but also the management. It comes down to how much of that tension was sort of positioned towards the head coach. There's a possibility that it is actually a benefit. Like, I'm not saying Pajon's part of the problem. That I've never heard that. I don't know that. Um, However, again, if sort of that goes hand in hand with that's attention to the management and the head coach, I do think again you replace him with somebody else, maybe somebody more hands on, and again you can see this being actually beneficial.
And what about you, Beatdown? What's your take on this situation with the Titans? Are they in trouble, or do they have some smooth sailing ahead with the right moves?
I think this is a big problem for them, Lunchboxes. The thing with this is that they let go Jjanu. We know more is coming, even though they specifically said in their Discord for the team that nothing else is coming out today. A lot of rumors have been swirling around about, yes, true, friction between the team members, especially with a lot going on since last season, but there's also with management. Doesn't necessarily just mean the head coach, it means the owners, Luminosity Gaming, basically the organization that owns the Vancouver Canucks, the team in the NHL. That mixed with players, the players aren't happy. Something is going on within that org. I don't think a fresh face, aka new players, is going to change that. And with the decisions that they've been making, I can't imagine they actually get players that will improve this roster. The Vancouver Titans came in second place last season, and they did it with Tizzy on main tank. And listen, Tizzy's not good. Playing Tizzy over Bumper that alone was insane, but they still made it through playoffs. His Orisa was good enough, I guess.
Yeah.
But that team, that was a championship caliber team. It was just gifted to them. In the beginning of the season, there wasn't much coaching you had to do. The meta was GOATs. They came from Runaway, where they played GOATs for 2 seasons of Contender straight. This team was absolutely nuts. Almost nothing needed to be done. But the Vancouver Titans just managed to mess it up. This is the start of what's probably going to be a lot of fan backlash too. And sure, there are some good Western players that you could trade for that are just available, but even then, I can't see them improving the situation. I feel like they just keep getting worse, and this is not their season.
I would agree that it would be tough to sort of improve it over last year's, right? Because the only way second place finish is by winning the championship. And you're right. I don't think that getting like a Poco, Funny Astro, maybe a EQO combo would necessarily make them a championship team. But this is also the same team that just got 3-0'd by the Chengdu, or 3-1 by the Chengdu Hunters and 3-0'd by like the Shanghai Dragons. So I do think that there's a possibility you can improve them in that respect. Whereas had we seen the season play out, I still thought they were a really good team. I was still, drinking the Vancouver Titans juice.
I know.
Obviously watching them get 3-1 by the Hunters you would raise anyone's alarm bells, if you will. So I do think there's a potential to improve them in that respect, but I do know what you mean.
And I think it's fair too that I don't think you should include Shanghai Dragons in that sentiment, just because I think Shanghai Dragons is probably the best team in the league right now, or at least in contention for
let's
it.
make a quick correction there, guys. It's actually the Guangzhou Charge that
Guangzhou
actually.
Charge.
Okay.
Yeah, I got Soul Dynasty mixed up with my fault. Yeah.
No, okay.
Nonetheless, definitely cause for alarm for the Vancouver Titans, as although Guangzhou Charge has beaten some very good teams so far, they don't look like the kind of powerhouse that you would expect to beat a team like the Titans.
Exactly. They're not the Shanghai Dragons.
Sure.
So I do think that there's a potential you could put together a roster that, again, could beat the Chengdu Hunters, for instance.
I hope
I
so.
think part of that was hero pools, but I don't want to get into that conversation.
No.
But the other issue in this, and this kind of goes against my own point, but I think it's a point worth talking about, is if the Vancouver Titans are trading these players for like North American talent, the issue is, are those Vancouver Titans players willing to go to North America and play for like Atlanta or Philadelphia in the first place? Or do they want to stay in that Korean region, for instance? Because that adds its own logistical issues and complications that go along with that. I had assumed they were already in North America because of the fact that the Vancouver Titans were supposed to play for the past week. But this is one of those issues where they just put their foot down and said, no, like you can't trade them. Philadelphia is not giving up Poco and Funny Astro for Slime to come next season, right? That's just not going to happen. So I know it goes against my point. That is a concern of mine. But again, if they're able to get a trade and the players are willing to go to North America, I do think you can put together a pretty good roster.
Yeah, that's going to be the tough thing, though, because of things going on in the world right now, I can't imagine the players really want to leave Korea. And it's worth noting, too, that
If they
Jjanu,
even can.
Yeah,
exactly.
maybe they can't even leave. Vancouver Titans, before this COVID-19 situation, were based and operating in Vancouver. I don't know if they'd actually be allowed to travel here, because I'm pretty sure non-essential travel, although I guess maybe this falls under essential travel, is still not quite yet allowed here in Canada. The other thing, too, is that we know Jjanu, for the moment at least, is listed as a free agent. But how do we know that him and other players letting go don't retire? Maybe this is it, because there are other players who are already retiring from the Overwatch League, whether it's because of hero pools, mostly because of hero pools, and other aspects where it's just, you see a lot of players saying they're not really into the game anymore. And let's be real, the game looks a lot different than it did 1 year ago, much less 3.
Yeah. That's one of those things. I think they're so talented, again, especially players like Fissure, maybe less the Fissure, but like Huxell.
He's talented. You can't argue that.
He's talented. I mean, but in terms of players likely to retire, I think Fissure might be a little bit higher in the list than like a Huxell or a Twilight or a Slime.
Yes.
Again, retire again.
Man, are there some pretty good teams out there that could use players like that? Like we could have a whole other topic around, who would you like to see Fissure go to? Who would you like to see Slime or Twilight go to? Huxell. Like there's some really cool potential.
I'd like Fissure to go back to TFT.
TFT. Okay, I don't know about that, but yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes. And again, I think it's possible to be positive. I want to be the optimistic one here, and I think that it could open some doors that potentially were closed beforehand. But it's obviously a concerning look for the Titans.
Yeah, I think we can all agree that in light of the circumstances, especially with just the global state, there's no question that losing top talent for any team right now is something that is going to be concerning. It will be interesting to see as time goes on whether this is going to be a move where Vancouver's making a dramatic shift in their entire roster to make
Yeah.
themselves as strong or stronger in the long run, or if this is a sinking ship and everyone is getting off.
Yeah. Might be.
But we will find out and we will let you know as it goes on. Thanks for watching Meta Mentality. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe and follow us on social media. Find out where to follow us in the links below.